Good evening, everyone. It is March 16th, Thursday. This is the Hingham Historic Districts Commission. Thank you all for coming. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First up, we have a continuation from last time. The Gallachers are here to talk about their home on 222 South Street. So thank you for coming. Monica was here last time, and I think we requested some more details with the plans, roof plans, and elevations. So, Monica, if you want to walk through what you've got in front of us now, anything that's been changed or adjusted since last time, that would be great.
What we did was we brought the garage addition gable roofs down below the main house gable roofs, and we put on some measurements there so that you could see it. And I think it's kind of also clear with this proposed left elevation that the garage is, you know, way back from the house. And so actually looking at the proposed front elevation, it's a little bit deceiving because it looks like it's up front. And I think that this really helps show that it's actually pretty far back and below the main ridge of the house, clearly below. And so we put a elevation height on the main ridge of the main house at 25 feet 11, and the ridge of the garage is 22.3, and the dormer ridge is 21.5. I think that it just, last time we were here, we were pretty close, but there was a error on the drawing where it looked like the dormer ridge was higher than the main house ridge. So this is a correction of that drawing. That's about it.
Okay. Any questions from the audience? Does that help clarify things based on the questions we had last time for the architects and other interested parties? That definitely helped coming out to see the property. How the garage is going to fit in with the main house, so it was helpful.
Since these notes are so small, is there anything in there that we should know about?
No.
Just, I wanted. What are you trying to conceal something?
It's his general baloney that he puts in there. I can read it. Yeah.
Whoa, Monica. You can read that?
Yep.
Well,
It says that we're gonna give the plans to a building commission a building inspector before we build it. We get permission, we get approval from the officials, blah, blah, blah. So in other words, don't just build this without going to the town, whatever town you are.
All right.
Since he's my drafter, you know what I mean? It's just a
Okay.
disclaimer so that you don't just build this and then you don't have permission, you haven't seen anybody.
actually, I'm now focused and I can see that is the case.
Yep.
The colors, I imagine, on the body and the trim are to match the existing house?
Yep, everything to match existing.
We had some garage doors from last time that you had submitted with the package. Could you refresh or remember what the panels are gonna look like? Is it just as is in the
No,
in the
Chuck,
diagram?
Chuck had a recommendation on the panel that it had a certain edge on it. Right, Chuck?
If I recall correctly, yes.
Right, I just have to find the garage.
Yeah, the square edge.
The square edge.
Square as opposed to a bevel.
Okay.
Wood doors, no glass. I gave you the super thin recessed LED light that's gonna be up in the trim that you're not gonna see.
Right, I recall it.
I gave you the top-down drone view of the roof.
Very important, thank you.
Very important, yeah. Got that.
Marvin integrity windows, right?
Yep.
Chuck, you were okay with the lighting fixtures that
I
were
am.
proposed?
I remember them, and I like them because they're concealed as well as being energy efficient.
Okay.
I had a note from last time that you were considering simulated divided light on the sides and rear, but true divided light on the front.
Yep, we'll use a wood window in the front of the garage.
So you are still gonna
Light.
do
Yeah,
two different kinds?
that's, yeah. I don't know the manufacturer of the window, because I seriously am having a problem with the thinness of that Matthews new grate. So I'll give you an addendum to which window it would be. I would like it to be the right size. They're so thin. You'll never see it. If you would allow me to use the Marvin in the front of the garage, I would do it, just because it would be better for maintenance and so forth. But if it's facing forward and you want it to be wood, I'll buy wood.
I mean, the intent is that it's all wood, and we have allowed simulated divided light on new construction,
Mhm.
whether it faces the street or not.
I'd like to go with
Is
the
that
Marvin.
something you wanna do?
Yeah, I think that would be better, to go with the Marvin in the front of the room, so that up in the bonus room, it will be consistent. The windows will be consistent. You won't need a storm. You'll have a
Is that what's in the
screen.
gable of the house?
It's wood, this is a wood window with a storm,
Okay,
but it's really far away. See how far back it is?
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Comments? Voting members are tonight are all here, so we'll have the 5 of us. Anybody who would like to make a motion at this time? 222 South?
I will, if you just,
Could you just clarify on the wood doors, did you have a special spec sheet?
Yeah,
I don't have the spec sheets.
Oh,
That's
okay.
the only reason I'm,
I presented it last time, and I don't have a copy of it in this folder for some reason. It's a wood door, she'll show it to you. And it's to have a square edge, there's a detail on the inside of the wood that you can choose. Chuck recommended the square.
If you wanna, yeah, well,
There should be a wood
the wood
door in
door's
that
the back
packet.
of that.
you even wrote me baloney.
Mike was
Lucky.
ready.
Yeah, this is what I want, I just wanted to make sure I could
Yep.
reference these. Okay, I would like to make a motion for 222 South Street for new construction of a garage and an upstairs according to Plan A1 dated 3/9/2017, which contains the addition of the ridge heights for the main house, the garage and the gable. Windows to be Marvin integrity, simulated divided light.
6/1.
6/1, thank you. Outside to match existing house color. And clabberning. Wood doors on the garage with a square edge according to
Sorry, Lois, what was that with a square?
square edge.
No glass.
No glass. The spec sheet is for ranch house doors. and outside lighting to be super thin recessed LED lights, 4-inch.
Concealed.
Concealed in the soffit. I know that. I think that's,
Just add demolition of existing garage to the motion. And do we have,
pictures.
we have a couple pictures in here. Does that suffice, Andrea, you think, or do you want 4 sides?
No, it's fine.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yay!
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks for coming in again.
Thank you, no problem.
Thank you.
Could have tightened up the schedule.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have a new application for, we got a few minutes, for 49 School Street. A little bit early, but it's okay. To remove an existing shed and construct a single bay garage, small room above, and a breezeway, I believe you would call it, between the two.
Yeah, just
And a roof over the existing house. So, thanks for coming in. Everyone may recall, I think you did some work maybe a year ago? Was it 2 years?
Yeah, it was,
Year and
we
a
were
half
in here
ago?
about a year and a half ago,
Year and
and the
a
work
half.
was last March.
And it was some exterior work on the shingles.
Exactly.
removal of existing shingles, replace with clapboard,
Right.
so.
But there's still a portion of the house that we haven't removed the shingles, that we're gonna be putting the same clapboards on, but we wanted to wait until we went through this process.
So we had a determination on this, so we held off, because there are implications in terms of
Gotcha.
ledger boards, et cetera, there.
Gotcha. So I think many of us went out to visit a year and a half ago. You may want to refresh our memories. It's a small lot, small house,
It's
but
a very oddly shaped
Yep.
lot where most of the lot is actually on the front of the house, and most of the lawn is actually over the septic system. So we have a very, very small area that we can build. We will be seeking something from ZBA for a setback, side yard setback. And our neighbor has already told us she's fine with that, but, we still have to go through that process. And then the backyard tapers down to about, there is a plot plan in the the thing that we just gave Andrea today. Sorry, it was a little bit late.
So the plot plan is in the first one.
Yeah, it's tapers down to about, I don't know, maybe about 15 feet wide. It's very odd. Just goes straight back.
It's clearly a piece of leftover land from, division of the neighborhood.
So what we're dealing with is a very limited space that we can put a small structure on. But if you recall, I don't know if you guys recall from being there last time, there is a shed there that is, it was there when we got there. It's not very sightly. But the other interesting thing is that there was a one-story garage on the property much further back that the prior owners took down because it was falling down. So there is a history of that, and you can actually see that on, I think, Bing Maps. It's still there. But we did not want to put a garage back in that place where the former garage was, because of the narrowness of the back area. It's just really, it would have been too tight So the area that we're proposing is really the only area that we can get something in that we can use for, you know, as a place to do woodworking, and because we're going to be doing some stuff on the inside of the house ourselves, so we're going to need that space. It's been pretty tough to try to get stuff done without a big enough space for equipment.
The one thing I do want to add on the renderings, the perspective renderings and the elevations, the barn doors that they have selected are really just can doors out of the application, and it's not our intent to put those barn doors on there with windows. They would be built on site, board and batten barn doors. In addition, the door in the back would also be a built on site board and batten barn door. And my intention is either to find salvaged windows that match the existing structure, the existing house, the 2/2, or have wooden ones made. So reproduction wooden ones made. This is an outbuilding. It's a detached building. Its intention is not to be a, you know, true part of the house, but more of a garage and then a space to work, workshop, and a place upstairs for storage or for the kids to play their string instruments.
When it's warm enough.
Yeah.
No. I don't have anything else. The exterior will be the same clapboard as we used on the main portion of the house, same color, trim color, the same as what we just did for the house. So it was a light gray and then a I don't know, historical creamy color. Trim, yep.
So the additional roof lines that we've shown drawn over the entrance on the driveway are primarily for water management. That section of the house does have a water intrusion issue. I'm trying to solve that by pushing the water off to the driveway and draining it away.
It comes in through the storm,
Yeah.
the storm door. And it's also, right now, we have no entry area into the house that has a covered area. So snow and rain, you're just going right in without just bringing all the water in with.
And as Jennifer indicated and we indicated, our intent would be to finish the re-siding of the house. You know, if we applied those roofs, after we applied the roofs, we would then apply the, you know, continue the siding that we were approved for on that side of the house, the north side of the house.
So would that siding be clapboard or shingles?
It would be clapboard as we
Yeah.
were approved for last year.
Be all the same. And I think you guys were asking about lighting in the prior hearing. And I think that we hadn't really thought about what we would do, but if we did any exterior, you know, like a prominent light, we would use the same fixture that we have over the front door, which came right from your guidance book, which is just a lantern.
Simple copper lantern.
Yeah, square.
From a really nice old guy in Arizona who hand makes copper fixtures.
Okay. Good.
Questions?
Yeah, any questions from the audience? Okay. Open it up to the commission for discussion. Any questions that people may have? Feel free.
I just had a question on page 6 of this
Supplement?
handout, yeah. Where the covering roof is, and I think this is just the perspective of the picture, it looks as though there's a shingled wall going across.
No.
That's actually the house.
That's the house,
right?
and I called
So
the
it's drawn, yeah.
architect and I said, why is there a shingled wall there?
Yeah.
He said, no, you're looking through,
Yeah,
and it's
that's-
very
that's
hard
what
to
I figured.
render that perspective.
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Good catch, though.
I've got a question on 5. These supplemental drawings, by the way, are very good because they answer a lot of questions.
Thank
that
you. Yeah, I knew that you guys would want elevations and.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and the section's helpful also. Where there is a I'll call it a rectangular window that's not divided. Are those operable or are they fixed? And if
Those are the ones in the dormer, you mean?
No, they're not, well,
They're in the connect,
they're above the connector roof that basically goes and connects the existing
Oh,
house.
those are pre-existing,
Okay,
and those are,
Skylights?
no, those are crank out. Those are
Oh, yeah.
pre-existing.
our awning.
They're
Yeah,
awning, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Those were there when we bought the house. Would not have been my first choice.
And where's the water problem? Is that door that we're looking at right on page 5, is that where the water issue is?
Yeah, right now it's that, we use that door, it's a side door. The prior owners never used that door, I think because they couldn't get the door open and closed, but we took the door off, shaved off the bottom, because it's the one that's right on the driveway, so it's the easiest one to use. And right now, there was rot on the door, so we know that it's had water intrusion, but then there's a screen door that warps, and it just doesn't close all the way.
Yeah, it's just that the water shedding in that area, even though I do have gutters there, is not real good.
And you can tell from the
and the-
shingles too, that are right on the concrete by the door.
Yeah.
They're,
There was no
it's
water
rotting.
table installed when they initially trimmed out the house, so that the shingles are rotted in that area. I'm sure I'm gonna find ledger issues. It's sitting on fieldstone rather than a true foundation. When we tear off that side, we'll make a full evaluation, but
Yeah, I think that, there's an area that
it's a little
is,
punky.
yeah.
So it basically just comes right down here?
Yes.
Yeah, it
Yes,
does. And
yeah.
see that really weird roof right there too, to the side?
I think it's also it's part of the aerodynamics of the area too. You get a swirl in there and you get water kind of driven in there, so.
Any thoughts about putting a deck under that?
You mean instead of the concrete?
To permit running either a conduit, an electrical conduit, or something out to the barn, we would probably take up that slab. We're gonna have to take it up anyway to get to the sill under that door. Take up that slab, and I was thinking putting brick there or something nicer, a little nicer than the concrete slab that's sitting there.
Drawings, it's just kind of roughed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I guess we really hadn't thought about that too much.
It really is. It's truly just a massive poured slab right there, and it's not.
It's awful too, because there's
It's
from the driveway up, it's about 2.5 inches, just enough to trip over,
and
which I've done.
it's poorly caulked onto the side of the house.
I don't know what would work there, what you're leaning towards, but certainly I think something between the garage and the house underneath that overhang would be a nice feature to
Yeah,
tie the two buildings
we
together.
were thinking of that, because it would be nice to have something there. That's just such an odd area there.
Yeah, it
It's
might
ugly right now, but
help if you
Yeah.
had something there.
that would look really nice. Thank you, because I had asked for that.
Sorry.
Did she get to you before the meeting?
It's all right.
What else, guys? Comments?
So I stopped and I talked with my friend who had a barn, really similar kind of barn, built there on, is that Main Street? Garrison Wilkes's barn?
Yeah, that was
So it's
a
kind of
few years ago.
Right.
Garrison, and it's kind of a shrunk down version of what he built.
Yeah, we had originally thought about doing a post and beam through Huck Handy, and he, in looking at our lot, he said
And
it
the
would be
scale.
really, really difficult for him to work in such a small area, which was kind of disappointing to us, but, and it's such a small structure too, it's just kind of, he said it's probably not worth it for him to do it. I mean, he's being very honest.
Yeah, which was nice. Too bad, because we fell in love with that,
Yeah.
those posts and beams.
And looking at 5 again, I'm inclined to think that the depth of that beam that supports that small roof needs to be deeper. It seems to me, just visually.
Which one?
The beam that supports the edge of that roof, where the entrance is at the first floor. It's not deep enough,
Can I come and take a
even
look?
visually. It's this one right here,
Oh, yeah.
that element.
Yeah.
Either there needs to be one post in the middle or something. That's just a
Yeah.
big span for something that's not
Yeah.
deeper.
And that is
It looks like it's about 6 inches.
Yeah,
And
so
one
you
would expect it to be, I would think, for that span, something like around 10, I
Right.
think.
Yeah,
So
you-
I would think about doing something with that.
I agree.
Yeah, we haven't done any of the framing planning yet. We were going to, wait and see how this went and then move on to framing plan and obviously through, zoning first and
Yep.
then building, so.
So those columns are strictly decorative.
Yes, because it's already supported.
Right.
It will be tied into the,
Both the house and then your new
Exactly.
garage.
I see what he's saying, yeah, that looks really weird
Yeah.
with their short roof.
Yeah,
But,
and
and of course, you'd want a bigger roof so you can actually get some protection from the rain
And
when
I-
you're standing there.
but I also think you're absolutely correct. When you started doing the framing calculations on that, you'd say, oh geez, I need a 10 there, or a lamb beam. or
Yeah,
something.
that's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's a visual thing, too.
Yep.
The eye says, how can that be supported, even if it's not a large roof?
I'm wondering, because it's just such a tight area back in there, what is it, like 8 feet
Plot plan,
Which one?
the,
between the two buildings? I mean,
yeah,
Between the two buildings?
Yeah.
It's 6, I think.
6?
yeah.
I'm just wondering from a practical standpoint, I mean, have you thought about just
Joining it up.
one-story connector breezeway between the two, so, it's almost like it's just it's so tight in there, it's
Yeah.
like the buildings aren't standing on their own anyways.
Yeah, no,
You know?
I know what you mean.
So, in my pushback on that, and we've talked about this a lot, that exact issue has been, this was intended to be a barn.
Yeah.
And framed as an outbuilding and kept relatively simple. When I
Right.
start attaching it, my requirements change and it, becomes more expensive and more complicated, but.
Yep.
But, no, I can definitely see what you're
Yep.
saying there.
Just a thought, I think
Yeah.
somewhere down the road, if this is built, somebody's gonna come to
I
this
agree.
commission and say,
Yeah.
I wanna.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just want to say that, the house is so sweet to look at, and that the garage barn addition that you're proposing, I admire what you want to do with wood and the simplicity of the doors and so forth. I'm a little bit concerned that the drawings here could overpower the simplicity of the house, and that the outbuilding structure becomes more dominant and more powerful than I think it should be, given the existing house. And I would say that probably with the connector, I know you probably put a lot of thought into the connector, but the connector, to me, doesn't allow each structure to stand alone and pop, if you will. The overhang here, I understand what you're talking about with water, but I think it's too much for the structure. And the dormer, I feel the same way about.
So, one of the reasons why, if I can just address your comments.
Yeah.
The height of the garage is not gonna be, it's going to be the height of the middle section. It's not gonna be the height of the main house. So it's actually gonna be shorter than the main house. It's not gonna be high. So that's definitely something we took into consideration, because we too think it's a cute house. We don't want it to get ruined. But if you look at our house right now, the cute part is actually the front part.
Yeah.
The stuff behind the front part is really, to me, ugly, because the windows are all, they're not centered, they're just badly placed. It wasn't a well thought out addition at all. And so I think by putting the structure, and like I said, that's really the only place we can put a structure, but by putting it there, your eye is drawn. You have the front part of the house, but then the garage is supposed to be a smaller version of the front part of the house. So your eye is at the front part of the house, and then it's towards the garage. So you don't see that ugly, what I think is ugly. It just doesn't look good.
It's also set back quite a bit, set back well behind the main house.
Yeah.
The main structure
I mean,
of the house.
if we had our choice, I would love it if we could, not even have it close to the house and have it way back, because there's just no room for it. And your point about the dormer, we too thought that it would be nice if we could just have just a regular roof up there, but to make it usable, because we're diminishing the height and not making it as tall as the main part of the building, we lose, standing space up there. Our children, our two boys are 6'1", and they'll be the ones that are, and our daughter, I'm sure, will be up there with them, but they're going to be the ones that are using that area probably. And our upstairs in our main house we don't have any dormers in it at all. We pretty much have, you walk through the center of the house and that's where you're not going to bang your head. It's an old house, and
Sure.
we love it like it is, and we're trying to keep it, like it is. But that's why, and this dormer looks really funny here too.
It's
with the perspective looks funny.
drawing.
But what we're hoping, our dormer looks like his dormer that he has on your garage, or that house in the back of his lot.
And very, very similar to like Garrison's. Garrison's dormer is situated almost exactly the same way.
But and I appreciate that, I do. And the nice thing will be getting rid of that shed, which it's going to a friend of ours, so it's not being demolished yet. It's gonna come with a trailer and take it away.
Assuming we can build a barn, because right now that's the only
Right.
place we have to store stuff.
And if he can't take it, we already have another neighbor who said they would like it.
Other thoughts?
Similar to Virginia, I find the structure quite tall for its proximity to the house. I understand you're trying to minimize it and keep the ridge line similar to the back of the house, or if not a little bit smaller. But when I look at the section here in these plans with the plastic cover, you have 8'2".
Which one?
And that's not to the ridge, 8'2", the section, which is rather tall. That's a lot of space for.
In the center for sure, but it rapidly diminishes with a sharp roof like that.
Well, that 8'2" is represented at the top of the window in the dormer. Your ridge is actually taller than that.
I think that's, let me see.
Unless that's a typo.
Might be a typo, I can check on that one.
8'2" is rather tall for the size of the building, the proportions of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I can appreciate someone 6'1", your kids being 6'1", but 8'2" is.
I can check for clarification on that too.
Yeah.
Whether that was, I know we were we were discussing, and this might have come out of a discussion of adjusting the height of the, that floor plate there, because I had said
Right.
I wanted to maximize the height, so he might have been playing with the height of the, that floor plate, you know, relative to the garage, because it's really pulling out of the garage height too. You end up with 7.7 there.
So you're looking for the height from, of the peak and the dormer.
Well, I think reducing the ridge height overall would help put the structure back into proportion.
So we are at,
And certainly 8'2", if that is in fact true,
Yeah.
at the dormer, that's just too tall.
Yeah.
It's unnecessarily tall.
Okay. We did go through several iterations
Yeah.
of that
Oh, I see.
height.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
that
there
one
could
was
be a
from back in-
leftover or
Got it,
something.
a remnant, yeah.
Yep.
I understand.
let's look at that elevation now. We wound up with, I think 19 feet 10 inches.
To the top of the ridge?
Top of the ridge, yeah.
Okay.
So if you look at this one, which is exactly, it's basically lined up with the height of the existing ridge on the back side of the house.
Second. So there are three separate
Yeah.
heights,
Yep,
and so
yep.
it's with the middle one.
So it's not, you know, it's less than 20 feet tall. And then from here, from this perspective, you can see the alignment of the ridge heights.
Yeah, that's a helpful one,
Yeah.
the second packet, yeah.
I think, you know, I think that some of the computer renderings perspectives don't do these justice. I actually prefer the elevation renderings when you really want to see what it looks like. So in this one, you can see it relative to the main building. It's much, much lower. So is that height still a concern after looking at the elevations here?
Yeah, when I look at page 5,
Okay. So I'll get clarification on page 5 from Doug.
Proportionally, I think you're right. It just seems like it
Yeah, okay.
fit.
especially because the lot's so tight and your proximity to the house and,
Okay. So the intent would be, you're suggesting we drop the ridge down?
let's see, a couple of things, we may be able to solve a couple of problems. I don't know, I'm gonna let Virginia, give me her opinion. So on the dormer, if the dormer windows were taller, or is it the dormer overall?
It's particularly the dormer overall.
Okay, all right. I don't have a solution for that. But lowering the ridge, if you could get 6'2", 6'3" out at where that, well, it would be the top plate of the dormer, so just above the windows.
Okay.
People can still stand.
So removing the dormer and then dropping it down does significantly reduce the usability of that upper room. So you are going to drop it down quite a bit and reduce, if we drop the dormer, then we're dealing with the roof as well on the inside.
Well, again, it's hard to say. If that is in
Okay.
fact a remnant at 8'2",
I'll check that.
we really need to know.
Okay.
Can the pitch of the roof be adjusted at all?
I think the pitch matches the existing.
Yeah, the pitch seems right in my mind, but just the whole thing coming down a little bit.
What we didn't want it to look like is a shed. That's what, you know, that's the trade-off. It's
Getting
such a,
rid of the shed.
it's such a small structure. We didn't want it to look like a shed sitting next to our house. So I think, what?
That's been gussied up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, there is one kind of like that on the street, not 2 stories, but, and it doesn't look good. So we wanted it to be taller so that it wasn't a gussied up shed.
Instead of a 2-foot drop, would a 1-foot drop?
I think that would help. I'd like, again, it's so close to the house, it can't
So,
diminish the house.
drop the ridge line down a foot, redraw the plate, and I'm very reluctant to remove the dormer, just because of the loss of space up there, or usability. But
No, I'm really opposed to that. I mean, honestly, the house is very small. This
Yeah.
is the only place that the kids could go to escape us if they need to escape us. The boys are in the same bedroom. That's very small.
So what if the pit, again, some other commission members should certainly offer some opinions, but what if the pitch changed, so your eave of the garage came down lower? That would get you more room in the dormer for windows, taller windows, instead of these 4 light, and perhaps that will do things.
So I could also remove that eave or the fascia board there and make the wall continuous so that I could put in taller windows there if that's the issue. So remove that whole soffit and fascia assembly there. Make the face of the dormer continuous with the side face of the barn, which is, I had a rendering of that initially, and put 2 larger windows in there.
So what I'm looking at is it's number 1, one of the elevation. If you look at the upper right-hand picture, so take a look at the number of clapboards above, on the side wall that faces your neighbor, where below the dormer.
We're talking this one, which one are we talking?
Upper right-hand corner.
Okay, yep.
Yes, so you see the number of clapboards above those windows before we get to the eave.
Yep.
Just, again, lowering
much.
the
Yeah.
ridge is gonna take some of that.
Sure. Take a
Away.
foot out of there.
It does,
And also changing the pitch.
Yeah.
Steepen.
It's a 10 pitch now, so if you could go to something a little steeper, that's gonna give you more window height in the dormer. I don't know if that's gonna be more palatable for the folks here, but some ideas.
Do you have that? So we'll redraw with an increase in pitch there.
well, let me write on the thing.
Yeah. Drop 1 foot.
I think if you could also, you mentioned that these are not really the doors that you're planning for.
Yeah.
While you're
I'll put the right
redrawing,
doors
put the
on.
right doors in
Yeah,
there.
it's just gonna be, like I said, straight board and batten.
You know, with the Z on the
Well,
back.
Z will be on the inside.
Right. Pitch down, I'm sorry, drop the,
So dropping the ridge and.
Ridge, 1 foot.
A suggestion of getting you more height in the window in the dormer if you change the pitch to a 12 perhaps.
you know what that means, Michael?
Yep.
Pitch,
Just as long as you, just work out 12
pitch to 12.
And then.
Larger
slightly windows
window.
in the dormer.
But
So effectively, we're gonna decrease the exposed area above the first floor windows.
Oh, I know,
up
and
to
we
that
had
yeah,
talked about that originally when we were
Yeah,
doing the
If you
iterations.
could draw the stair and dot it in on this elevation and then one around there, they would see the relationship between the dormer and that.
Yeah,
Sure.
that's
Which
a
is
good idea.
important. I'm just
Yeah.
saying, you dot in the stair on the elevations, so you can see what the relationship of the stair is to the dormer.
Just so we know we can make it upstairs.
right.
Is there a way to maybe step back the dormer, even if it's just a foot, so
Um,
that it doesn't continue all the way straight up?
yeah, I know what you're saying, and, I think we just discussed You mean so that it's tucked in a little bit, so that we have, Michael, help me with this. I know
So-
that we
So
discussed
instead of
that
it
with
continuing
Doug.
up, stepping it back.
Stepping it back so that.
So it's set back a little bit off of the,
Right. I know what Virginia mentioned and would prefer. I'm just saying you would prefer the head height. and it's a
So-
possibility.
If we did that, even with the increase in pitch in the roof, now we'd be subtracting, again, the height of that dormer, and have to go back probably to the small windows again. Do you know what I mean? If I set it back, I'm actually gonna decrease
Yes, that is true. Yep.
this exposed area right here, and I'd be back to the
oh,
smaller
right,
windows.
right.
One thing that occurs to me in looking at these, on elevation 4, if you can drop the ridge of the connector roof, you know where I'm talking about? So that does not butt where the gutter line is, so that basically that can just stand free, so to speak.
Okay, so drop ridge of the connector.
So it's underneath the soffit and fascia.
Exactly,
Yep,
as
yep.
opposed to being at the same
Yep,
location.
just drop it a little bit, yeah.
That was a, tricky area. We've been thinking about how we're gonna
Not
handle
easy.
that.
It's,
And then I went to, I happened to see a roof and a porch area on Garrison. It's the new house that's being built there. Looked at that. And it was interesting because they overlapped the roofs instead of connecting them. It was kind of a weird way. But anyways, I understand what you're
Okay.
saying.
I think it might help read better as opposed to
Sure.
having joint.
Right, that would, it's tall.
okay. All right, so our main take-homes are drop elevation, change the pitch, larger windows in the dormer, and drop the ridge line of the connector roof and the back connector roof,
Right.
Yeah, and then that.
and then the door.
Where the columns are, just that beam showing.
Yep.
Showing something a little. You can actually see in the section 4, the beam dimensions, and that would be, you
Okay,
have some serious fasteners there in order to accomplish that.
yeah. Yeah, he's also drawn in on this one, he's got another column that doesn't show in the.
Right, in the.
So if we're gonna redraw this, do you guys want me to put lights on and specify light styles and fixtures? Fixtures, okay.
Any detail you can get us.
Okay, so fixtures. The door that I'm building, I typically use the wrought iron or hand hammered Acorn, I believe, is the manufacturer of the strap hinges, the black strap hinges. Those are all right.
Yeah, if you can just take any photos or cut sheets
Yep.
of that stuff, just attach it with that package.
What else? All right, we'll come back with those two
Oh,
items.
the, if we're gonna be the concrete area, right?
Removal of the concrete slab and maybe add a brick fill or something in between there in the renderings.
And that would
Or-
end up being at driveway height, so you eliminate the
Correct.
trip step.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still a pitch to the driveway, obviously.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we wouldn't do, brick the entire way.
I don't know, yet to be
Yeah.
determined.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's mahogany, maybe it's a step down.
Yeah.
Does the commission feel that these drawings, these 3D drawings, give you a good enough visualization of how this is going to work? We have asked for models before, when there's a lot going on, a lot of different roof lines. Do you think we're in a good enough place for visualization?
I do. I think this is a pretty thorough application,
Okay.
personally, yeah.
Chuck, Lois, you think
I
we're-
think it's adequate, as far as I'm concerned, I can visualize the whole thing.
Okay.
And it raises enough questions that I think we're gonna get answers to. And I think I get a feel for the massing too, which is important.
do we want to go out and take another look? It's been a while since we've been out there, or you can just drive by. Do you want this staked out? No?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. Chuck? Thomas,
I'd like
Lois?
to at least drive by. I will.
Okay.
I'd like to
By
see it
anytime you'd
staked
like.
out.
Yeah.
I'd like to see it staked out.
Do you want to, can you,
So when you say stake it out, you want me to drive some elevation stakes in at the corner points?
yeah.
Yeah.
String in between?
Sure thing.
That'd
Well,
be adequate.
She's
And we-
been asking.
And we can just walk down the sidewalk and take a peek, I think.
We just-
Sure.
Yeah, just bean poles, just a stake. Right,
And I'm alone in my concern about the roof overhang on the garage and the connector roof. I mean,
I think we talked about dropping this down.
dropping it, but keeping it,
Keeping it, yeah.
But
not eliminating it.
dropping, we talked about dropping the ridge line.
No,
And
the-
the-
this,
And below the
the
soffit.
soffit for the connector roof.
Yes, okay.
But keeping the connector roof, but lower.
Yeah, he talked about lowering
Yes,
this down
yep.
here.
Virginia, that's why I just want to go out and look at, because I have trouble visualizing.
Yeah, it's really, it's a very tough thing to visualize, I think, because it's so squished.
It is, it's a very, very challenging building situation there with the lot shape.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else?
I'll be the driver.
If you bring back some information for submit to you,
Yeah, it
and
would
then
be great.
next iteration, is that
If
how it
that-
works?
Yes,
Okay.
that's always very helpful, because, let's see, the next meeting is April the 6th, so it's not too far away. If, I usually send out the packets to the members, at least a week and a half ahead of time. So if you could get it in, I think, by the 29th or so, or the 30th.
And, you know, electronic would be very helpful to us,
Oh, sure.
so we can post it, so you're,
Although we
Oh,
need,
it's
we
funny, I
need
didn't
both.
even, I hadn't been sending electronic, I just been PDFing it all and printing it, I didn't know you wanted electronic.
so both,
Yeah,
Both would be great.
okay.
so we can, let
So
your
you said by the 29th
neighbors and
of
abutters know.
March.
Yeah, but let me just look at that again, because I may be,
And we never get plastic covers. That's nice.
no.
Did you give him a plastic cover?
Yes,
Good for
excellent.
you.
I printed it all and I found it.
A plus.
A plus for,
Oh, my. Don't make him get a big head.
Yeah, it's coming up pretty soon,
Good.
so I think,
So we'll try to get it staked out, over the weekend,
Yep.
okay.
if it's not snowing. No.
Get out the big tape.
We'll
Oh,
do
you
it
can
anyways. And we'll, I guess one of the places though is going to be in the driveway. So
Sure.
we'll have to like spray paint it, right?
No, I'll just drill a small hole in the driveway and stake it.
All right.
Problem.
We're gonna have to park there though.
I'll make it removable.
Yeah, you could just use a little of that spray, that orange
Yeah.
stuff or whatever, at the lows. And then
Yep.
the other corners, if you can get at those.
Yep.
We'll figure something out.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
Thanks
appreciate,
for coming in.
appreciate your time again.
Yep. Happy to do it. All right, next up, we have 77 Leavitt Street. This is for the renovation and expanding of an existing garage, and also for an addition to be constructed to the rear, on the left side and the rear.
Good evening, folks.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Sorry, no plastic covers.
I know.
I was wondering if I did
Yeah, this is not going well.
No, we're already going downhill, sorry. So I hope you all have packets that show at A scale. This property is a beautiful historic cape that we did do it in addition to 3 years ago. And we didn't touch the garage. The garage is a 1950s generic box. So we're at a point where we'd really like to renovate that, but we don't want to, you know, guinea it up looking like it was from 1600s, but we'd like to improve it. So we're going to keep the existing structure, but we're replacing all the materials. We're doing a new roof to match the house. We'd like to do new siding, new garage doors, and we've got packets that show the details that we've chosen. The two additions, one is just, I'm just wrapping the roof facing in towards the property, and we just need some storage. And so that's what that kind of little shed hip roof is on the side. So you can see it in your side elevation. So it faces into the homeowner's property. And what I did was I just took the existing 10-12 roof pitch and just wrapped it, thinking that would be the simplest to make it blend. And then in the rear, we have an 18 by 19.6, very simple gable. It's basically an open outdoor space for the Williams children to play, for the kids to hang out. And we just, you know, we didn't want a generic deck, but we thought this kind of reflected a barn-like vernacular, and we just wanted simple covered space for them. What's nice is that the natural slope of the property, the floor of this outdoor room is 4 feet below the garage. It is only really going to be visible from the village lane, and you might see a little tiny bit of it from the from Leavitt Street. But our goal was to make it look like it could have been a barn, just a simple structure. And we're just using the same vernacular and roof line. So on the actual gable, I have a 512 roof pitch, so it's half of the pitch that's on the garage. I just wanted it low. And so that structure, the ridge is only at 14 feet high. It's actually 9 feet below the ridge of the existing garage. So we didn't want it to be imposing. We wanted to just be simple. We're looking at just using kind of rough hewn posts and beams as if it could have been a post and beam structure at one point. So we're kind of mimicking what could have been there and just keeping it simple. Can I pass these out?
Yeah, Andy's out, so.
So Andrew kindly made these packets on details, and we would love some of your input on our garage doors. We're very happy to either do solid doors, we're happy to do, you know, a little bit of glass, you know, whatever you'd like. So these were the ones that we originally proposed 3 years ago, but then we kind of withdrew this because we decided we just weren't going to bite off that much of a project.
Thanks.
And the original, the cape, is that one more? Do we have any more of them? Oh, great. You can see in the photos that I provided earlier. Oh, sorry, Andrea needs one. Sorry. We use the Maybach bleaching oil to kind of invoke a natural look, but with the barn garage, we were thinking it'd be great to use more of a historic red, and that shaker red that's in your packet we thought would look great. And then we don't want this endless sea of Maybach bleaching oil, so we thought it'd be nice to define it. And we also thought we're using just Brosco barn sash windows, wood, and I thought it would be great to paint them the shaker red and just kind of have a monochromatic like that image, and then use that really deep kind of pine green. Is it black green?
Yeah, I think like Sawyer pine or something. It's like really,
It's a
really dark.
neat color that we thought we'd paint the garage doors.
Yes, it's almost it's a greeny black.
Yeah, it's a really neat
Pretty.
color, and that's what the door is to the
Yeah,
house.
that's the house. It matches the house.
So we thought it'd be nice to make it this barn red and kind of invoke a barn and define it from the house. It's not attached, you know, it's just kind of on its own. And, you know, we would love any guidance or choice on those garage doors. We just want to keep it simple. The current garage doors are aluminum and just falling apart. We thought this was a great solution. The Coachman is a wonderful door. It is steel, but we're painting it. And we're replacing an aluminum. It's not a new structure. It's just that's a replacement garage door.
Okay. So you're suggesting Sayward pine as a color for the doors, or black?
It's much darker.
It's the next page.
I'm gonna go get a real sample.
So it's kind of a black green. It's what was approved for our side door on the current house. I'm not sure if you can see it from the picture, but you can't really see it from the street. So we have that color on the house. It's kind of a black green. And we thought the garage doors would look great, kind of with that color. And then we just wanted the windows to kind of blend. And we thought just doing the red would look great. And those rough-hewn beams, actually another client of mine who has a site down at the waterfront has those reclaimed beams, and he offered them to us. So I thought they were just really cool to use.
Great.
That's all that we're doing.
Terrific.
Would love your comments or suggestions.
There's a theme tonight of getting kids out of the house.
Yeah, we're putting them in the barn, literally.
Questions, comments, suggestions?
There are no showstoppers here for me. The only thing I would ask, and I'll get the opinion of the board, the elevation here, the front elevation where you have the hip roof, and the hip roof is actually following the contours of the main roof.
Yes.
It would be my preference if that could get pushed back a little bit so that I see that in fact the garage is in fact the garage and there's an addition off to the left of it.
Yeah,
I don't know how some of the others.
there is a foundation there now.
And you'll be reusing it?
We were thinking of reusing it. I could cut it and drop it, and instead of doing the 10-12, I could do the 5-12 there also. So then I could match the pitch that I have on the simple gable. So maybe, I'm wondering if that would define it. It's actually literally behind the existing house if you look at the site plan.
Yeah, I did see.
It's like,
actually,
I'm not
it's
sure.
kind of interesting if you look at the.
I'm not sure you'll see it. It exists now.
From the street view, so this is looking down the driveway from Leavitt.
On the left.
To the left there, behind.
Behind the corner of the house.
Yeah,
okay.
it's really, I don't even know that you can.
But I went back and forth with that roof pitch. So I have no
Yeah.
problem. I think
And-
it looks great at the 5-12,
Okay.
and then it kind of mimics the gable in the back. And I think that would separate it from the existing roof line of the garage.
No showstoppers here for me. I guess the only other question I have about the front of the house, on our Form B, it shows a storm door. Is that a individual boards?
That's an old pitch.
Oh, so that's storm.
Which one?
I don't think you have a storm on the front door, do you?
Oh, yeah, that's the house before it was renovated.
Right, so there's no storm like
No.
individual boards, okay.
No. Yeah, that's an old.
How far behind the house is the barn?
Right now,
How far is it going to be?
well, the existing garage, you mean the addition, or, because the existing garage is there.
Yeah,
And,
so it's pretty close.
yeah, so this is,
Maybe you got 6 feet?
I
in
want to
there?
say it's
it's
six.
so
I want to say it's
close,
6 feet.
yeah.
From the house?
Yeah.
Literally, yeah, it's
It's-
5 or 6 feet. It's really, it's tight, like you can walk,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, we
Two people
when we did the
maybe.
house renovation, we had toyed with the idea of connecting or something, and then for a lot of reasons decided not to go that route.
Question about the colors in the red. You mentioned the red, but
It's coming around.
the note on here talks about bleaching oil on
at
here.
one point, we were gonna do bleaching
So
oil.
you still wanna
And then
do-
we changed, when,
Right.
you know, as the last month, while we were pulling all this together, we really thought it'd be cool to make
And so
it
is
pop a
this
little bit.
portion red too,
We
or
were
is it
gonna
just?
do all of it red,
All of it?
unless you guys, we're also happy to do the front red, right?
Yeah, and it's our thinking on it, and again, open to suggestions here, is if you look at I'm sorry, just poke myself in my glasses, on the side view here from Village Lane, where it's, you have the house and then you have the garage, we kind of think like, if we do this in that bleaching oil too, like to Heidi's point, it's like you just have this really, really large mass of the bleaching oil going all the way from the front, all the way to the back. So we're open to suggestions, but the thinking on the red was something to kind of distinguish it. So again, it doesn't just look like this huge mass of the bleaching oil.
And this house always reminded me of the book, you know, Big House, Little House Barn. And even though they're not attached, we thought if it kind of popped with a historic color, it would kind of give that feel of, you know, a structure that was added on, but in a more natural way.
And the green is the last. There.
What are, on Main Street, I think there's a couple examples of some Shaker red or some red barns behind the
Doesn't Upper
homes.
Gardner have one too?
Yeah, and
Does it?
Upper Gardner has that one set back behind the Cape.
Way
There's-
back,
Way
yeah.
back, yeah, there's a red,
And that's right.
yeah, it's all red, and I actually think the windows and the doors on it might be a darker.
South Street Gallery, what was the color that they used on?
I can't remember,
It-
but I do know.
Is that the one they have?
that-
It's attached.
Yeah, they attach it, and it's contrasting
Yeah,
too.
we
It's
were looking
red
at
with
that.
like a gray. That is actually really cool looking. We'd actually kicked around that idea too, of maybe doing like, if you actually could do the, potentially do these
All right.
on the side there, even doing something like that, if you did the main garage is the red, in the addition with the bleaching oil or vice versa. Again, just something, you know, we're just trying to break up so it wasn't just one mass of that thing. So something to bring some color onto the side of the garage there. But I love that one on South Street. That's really cool.
At one point, we also toyed about painting the double-hung windows the black-green, if we wanted them to pop. I kind of like the quieter feel of it all monochromatic.
Yeah.
This is a barn. It's
It is
not
a
like-
barn, right?
It's a barn. That's what it's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be this fancy thing.
Right.
So I just thought it would quiet it down a little bit.
Is the garage floor wood?
The current garage?
No, it's a concrete
It's literally
slab.
from the 1950s.
I just see it's a walkout in the back.
It's a weird,
Oh.
we're not
On
going
the-
to access. You wanna
Yeah,
get rid of that, right?
yeah, there's a little Silence of the Lambs underground.
Oh, right,
thing
okay.
there that-
Yeah,
Okay.
if for safety reasons.
We're actually just gonna
an old well
close that
that's
off, yeah.
Buried under there, so
Actually, yeah, threw a padlock on that
Oh,
door
good.
in fear of, yeah, the kids getting on there. Yeah, because there's actually there's some work to be done just to clean that up and close it off.
yeah, it's not usable, you're not using it.
No.
You don't want to use it.
Would you give consideration to wood doors rather than the steel?
Yeah, our preference would be to not do that, just for, you know, maintenance and cost reasons. And, you know, we thought about it and, you know, kind of considered, you know, what we had proposed, a pretty significant improvement over what's there now.
Yeah, I think it's aluminum now, and they have 5 children, and they kick things against the door. They, you know, are using hockey sticks. So we're also kind of thinking a wood door would get trashed. So we're trying to be practical. We're going to paint it. We don't want it to be a stained door. I think that would be too fancy for this. We just want it painted. And since it's an aluminum now,
How do they stand up?
not as much as wood, but not as much as aluminum. The aluminum now is a mess. I mean, they are what they, you know, kids are kids. Like, you can tell them not to do, you know, we're just
Well-
trying to be practical.
The situation here is that they do have an aluminum door already, and so they would be entitled to put an aluminum door back.
Replacing kind.
So we're thinking this is a significant improvement to an aluminum, and we didn't want anything that was pressed. We really wanted something that looked like it was wood painted.
How about the cupola? Would you give consideration not to have a standard cupola, but to fabricate a cupola for that barn, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And our thinking on that was,
Oh, in the last page.
yeah, if you look at the photographs from
That looks too fancy for,
Leavitt Street, well, yeah, all we were trying to do there
Just
is,
a
when you look
generic
at it from
one.
Leavitt Street, there's just this massive roof. And so the idea was to put something up
Sure.
there.
And it is a 36 inches. I mean, that's 3 feet, what we've drawn and what we were proposing. And I also thought it made more
Yeah.
sense to have a venting one rather than glass, because it didn't make sense to do glass.
no.
So, you know, we're looking for images. I agree, I don't think we need the concave on the roof. You know, I just think we want simple.
Right, one that really sits on the,
Yeah.
on the roof
But I
line.
thought the 36 inches, it's a venting unit. It's not a light well. It's
Right.
meant to vent a structure.
Excuse me, Chuck, isn't there a formula?
Yes, there is, and
Yeah.
I don't recall it, but there is a formula.
There is a formula.
Oh, for figuring out the size?
The necessary size based on the,
Yeah,
Based on the,
So we can look
I
that
think it's
up.
online.
Yeah, it's on,
Found it before.
So we can double check that and make it appropriate.
I see that, in this picture, you've got a neighbor with one.
Yes, exactly, in
yeah.
the back.
Visually, I'm not sure how that looks. But you might want to stand out and picture how
it was
it
the one we were
might
looking at
look.
before,
Yeah, I
where you basically
know. Where
look
was that one?
right across.
Right.
You also don't want to look like you're in a bunch of condos, which is the trend.
we can
As you
take
know,
it-
on
oh,
Beale
here it is.
Street,
We can
there
see it here.
there
Oh,
are
no, you won't
cupolas
see the-
everywhere.
And that's glass, right? That has glass in it. That's their pool house, right?
Right, because you
hard
actually,
to-
you
yeah,
won't
I
see the
can't.
coop, you won't see it from that view, because when you're looking at it here from Village Lane, the cupola will be behind our house.
It's
And then when
away.
you're looking down at ours from Leavitt Street, you won't see
see
the
it.
Kennys because it's next door. So yeah, I don't think there'll be a view where you're seeing those things.
And yours will be simpler. It won't have the
Simultaneously.
glass.
Everything we have is simpler than.
With the garage door, would you prefer a solid door, or do you like having the lights at the top? Because we're completely open.
Well, in aluminum, steel. Yeah.
Again, with kids, if, you know, I don't know
I
how
know.
it's gonna be used, it's just glasses.
Yeah, I mean, I think we originally started with no glass, but wanted to see what you all thought.
I mean, we've approved, again, this is wood, with glass and without. We have, on our barn, we've got doors similar to carriage style to this, without glass. They came out pretty well.
Which I think would look great.
Yeah,
Just,
I don't have a strong opinion on the glass versus
So we're
the
happy to
solid.
make them solid.
I think the simpler without the glass is
Yeah.
preferable, given what you've proposed,
More barn,
Yeah.
and given the steel.
Yeah.
What'd you say, Ben?
more barn-like.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
Aren't going to have trim, or it's all going to be red?
Well, there are corner boards. We're up to, suggestions, but I kind of liked the monochromatic, just keeping it simple.
That's because I was just looking at these, and I was thinking.
Yeah, that's the only way you can print it, but I
Yeah.
was just gonna keep, those are gonna be that dark pine green, so they're just gonna kind of disappear.
Blend in with everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the imagery of
Exactly.
the design of the doors there is to
can't-
show whether it's the line or the X or whatever, doesn't represent and the depth of it, not the color pattern.
What did we decide on the small bump out addition roof? Are we gonna do anything with that?
I'm happy to not have it wrap and just do the 512 roof pitch, which will be half of what the original garage is, and that will match what I have on the gable. And I think that will define the main roof will be forward of it,
Okay.
if that makes sense. It's an existing structure, so we kind of wanted to use that foundation. It's just storage.
It would still be a hip.
I would still hip it.
Yes, right.
I mean, I
It's still
could.
a- It's still a hip, but it's a 5 instead
Yeah,
of a 10.
because when I drew it as a shed, it looked kind of weird. Because I ended up with that weird little triangle.
Right.
So I would, if it makes sense to all of you, I could just do a hip, but half the roof pitch.
What about a larger window at the side elevation A2? Which
Oh,
is
sure.
basically where we're talking about.
We were just thinking barn sash in a barn, but we could make it a double hung, we could make it a
Well, I was thinking
awning.
double hung. I think there needs to be more light, particularly since we don't have any light coming in through a transom-like door.
You fine with, we'll just make, yeah, we can make that a double hung. So it's basically in that little addition.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
that may change the aspect ratio of the glass. Is that all right?
That's okay with me.
Here, and the front elevation, Chuck, or on the side?
No, side is what I'm talking
Okay.
about.
This one, I
The-
think.
Where the
So-
hip roof is.
Storage addition.
But
Exactly.
basically this.
Oh,
So
right,
I'll
right, okay.
So, you'll see that.
Okay, I see what
On
you're
the side.
talking about, all right.
I'll just
Oh,
make
yeah.
that double hung.
That makes sense, this one here.
Yeah.
That work. Yeah. Like that.
Yes. I think it looks better as well,
It
as getting
does.
more light
We were
in.
just thinking barn sash, but I think it's a great suggestion.
And the front elevation then, Chuck, did you see that one? That would stay?
Yeah, I saw that,
Three
and
light?
maybe as a result, you make that one.
I could make that one.
Make that
Make that the same too.
There's a door there now, so this will be an improvement, 'cause it's a really ugly door, isn't it?
Yeah. It's an ill shot, actually.
Yeah, I think that would look nice. So the barn sashes will disappear, and we'll do the Brosco wood double hungs.
And then in the roof line, I don't know if there are other commission members here that feel strongly about it.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, and we won't have storms on those, they'll just be
Great.
single glaze, old-fashioned windows. So does the smaller 512 roof pitch make sense to everybody? Kind of lowering that? Okay.
Now, I've got a question about the garage, the posts, the reclaimed posts.
Uh-huh.
Do you think you can get these squared off, or should you, in fact, should we talk about possibility of doing some chamfering on those?
Oh, that'd be cool. We could chamfer it.
What do other people on the committee?
What is chamfering?
So if this is my post,
Yeah.
I'm chamfering at the corner. It's like,
Putting a 45 in it?
Oh, I get it.
Kind of giving it a relief?
they
Sure.
did that to attempt to prevent fire, didn't they? So fire wouldn't grab it as quickly if it were 90 degrees. I
don't
read
know
that
if
somewhere.
That's the reason, or whether it's basic. I think getting a square corner is gonna be a little iffy.
Now, these posts are pretty rough.
They're reclaimed, yeah, you have pictures of them
Yeah.
in here.
I just have to be careful that if there are any nails, whoever's doing the work, John Hallen will do the work again.
Yeah.
Just have to do it very carefully so we don't ruin his equipment.
Exactly. Or his
Or his hands, or have things flying, but I think it's a great idea. And it'll be rough, it's not gonna be fancy,
I know.
you know?
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
I mean, I like the concept, as well as the colors.
So this is kind of my rough version, but I think it will define it more.
Yeah.
It's lower.
Okay, great.
And so this will be a nice clean line,
Yeah.
the 10-12. So, it will really define more where the addition is, and this will be a nice clean line. So I think, like Ben is saying, so I'll just make that half the pitch. I think that will help a lot.
I think
And then
that's a
on the
great
corner,
idea. Yes, much
And
better.
then double hung, double hung.
Yeah.
Oh, do you, the shingles, are they pre-stained, this color, or you're gonna have to stain them, right? You don't,
Yeah, I think
We're
we
gonna
will have to
stain
stain them to get the,
Right.
It's not a
No, I just
Maybach
wondered
color.
if it- because
correct, so yeah, we
were
would,
painting, and I thought,
Well, sorry,
Yeah.
stain, it's stain,
I
it's a
understand.
stain, yeah, color.
Heidi, are there lights on this? this door. Lights on
We
that
were
door.
gonna have lights in that, just.
I'm
because
just
it's
want,
not
I
light, if
just
that's
wanted to make
okay.
sure.
I think the lights in the door
I
are
think so.
out.
Out?
Oh, should we make it solid?
Isn't that what we talked about?
Would you?
Oh, we're-
Oh, you're
she's
talking about, I'm
saying-
talking about
Are you
the,
fine?
on the side elevation.
She was wondering.
Oh.
The person door on the
You
side
don't have to
elevation.
From any public way. It's 15 feet from the property line.
Right. I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other.
It's this one.
Okay. You
It's
won't be
the-
able to see that one.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it's fine.
Gotcha.
So on the elevations where it says Maybach shingles, bleaching oil finish to match main house. that's
We're
by
gonna
the course
stain.
now, right?
Yeah, we've changed our mind. We think it would look better in the red.
Any other questions?
Those overhead garage doors? They asked for some input on the overhead garage doors?
Oh, I think they're gonna do,
We'll do
it's gonna be
solid, and whether,
Okay.
do you like the X or just the
It's
one
gonna be steel.
diagonal?
Okay.
Because this was our discussion last time, and would just love your opinion.
So they're gonna be overhead?
Well, they're just,
They're gonna rise up?
yeah,
Yeah.
they're exactly what we have now, but an improved version.
I prefer the one diagonal.
I do as well.
We're fine with
That's
that.
where we landed last time.
Yeah,
It's
so that's what we
Yeah.
have on the
And that's why,
drawing.
yeah, I think we put that in there as the proposed, and then some other options if there were any differing opinions, but that was our preference as well.
Now, is that design 22 or design 23? Both diagonals.
I think it's 22, it's
Yeah.
the one where they meet.
22.
They meet in the middle.
It's just,
Yes,
and
it-
then
well,
go
you
down
can
to the-
choose.
go
Let me
down
see
to
which
the
one I
side.
showed on the drawing, on the plan. I mean, on the elevation. So I had it coming
You
in,
had-
so I designed 22.
That
one
one.
looks like upside down to me.
It's that one.
23 looks upside down. Yeah, I like the 22.
I agree.
Okay. So, just some minor changes here.
Are you- You
So I
gonna
can
propose?
make all these changes and drop off copies and as well as send it electronically.
Yeah, and I think next time will be very quick.
Great.
Just
And
minor
You said April
stuff.
6th?
Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right with your timeline?
Yep, no, that's perfect, that's perfect.
This will be a nice project for you.
Yeah, we're
Excellent.
excited
Thank you, guys.
about
I
it.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
I just have one thing.
yes.
On Spring Street, the McCullough residence, the barn there, that's like a V-groove pine. Right? The doors, the doors on the barn? That's what I had envisioned. I don't know if something comes in a steel version.
You mean the garage doors or?
Yeah.
Do you know which number on Spring it is?
40,
40.
44?
40.
40.
I can take a drive by and take a look and see.
It's got the
Just
red
around the
brick.
corner from
It's
you.
got the red brick
Oh, sure,
outbuilding,
yeah, I know that.
and it's a cape with the dormer in
Yep.
front.
It's got a
And
bay
it's-
on the south side.
Yeah, in the garage, the barn's on the
Cool.
right.
Yeah, we can take a look.
Go knock on the door.
Yeah.
Pretend we're you guys.
That's fine.
They would invite you in.
Thank you.
Great,
Thank
thanks a
you
lot,
very
guys, have a good
much.
evening.
Appreciate it.
I need somebody's color.
Oh, you're gonna like
So can I just email the electronic to you?
Yes, but then,
And how many sets would you like me to drop off?
10?
10.
I'm going on vacation tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Actually, as long as Eddie,
It'll be before.
the end of the month. That's good.
Have a good night, guys, thank you.
Good night.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next up, 974 Main Street. This is for the construction of an addition to the house, and garage, dormers of the barn, et cetera. John, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hi, John.
How are you? Just gonna put these up right here so we can look at it.
Got that okay on the HCAM?
Yeah, I got it.
Good.
So 974 Main Street, the main house is from 1912, and in 1991, this garage or barn was built. I guess there used to be another garage there, and I reached out to the previous owner to inquire about what used to be there before 91, and he said, oh, it was nothing special. It was a low-pitch, mid-century garage without architectural characteristics. We were just curious about maybe something historic that could have been there before that we could relate to. But the project is really about enhancing the look of the garage, adding 2 shed dormers on either side of it, and at the back of the property, constructing a 1-story connector between the house and the garage, essentially an oversized mudroom, which has a laundry room and other utilitarian functions at the back of the property. So those 2 components basically summarize the project. And here is colored in blue on the site plan where the addition is with respect to the Main Street and where the main house and the garage are located. It's a pretty good size lot, 50,000 square feet. Just the existing floor plans on your left and proposed on the right. Currently, there is a narrow alleyway almost between the garage and the house, a little over 8 feet tall, 8 feet wide, and there's a large bay window that further protrudes into that. So it's a pretty narrow relationship. There's some tension there already. So we felt that by connecting the 2 buildings at the very back of the property, that it wouldn't really change any existing relationship that is visible or noticeable from the street. So that was the intent of the project, to really push this utilitarian connection towards the back of the property. The only facade that's visible is really this little bit here that's behind that bay window, about 67 feet from the front property line. Also, the side of the 1-story piece, I guess from an angle, would be visible from the street. Upstairs is going to be a multi-function, we're calling it living or storage space right now, with maybe a half bath. With the addition of the 2 small shed dormers, we're hoping to get some more light in there. We're replacing the faux hayloft door with 2 double-hung windows. And I'll go right to the elevations. Again, existing on the left and proposed on the right. No changes to the house, main house. We would like to de-chamfer the doors and make them more square-cornered with the new garage doors instead of the existing ones. We think the existing one is really overbearing, and the large white doors and the white faux hayloft door at the top is really dominating the existing historic character of the house. So we would like to actually, by adding and refining the look, we would like to try to relate back to the house a little bit by using the same proportion, 2/2 double-hung windows at the front, wood garage doors, and a wood entrance door for that mudroom piece that's 67 feet set back into that alleyway right over here. Here you see the side of the shed dormers poking out. They're fairly small, but we're hoping that they'll be useful enough to bring some natural light in there. We're showing smaller double hungs, equally spaced 3 double hungs on the shed dormers, continuing the 8 pitch from the main gambrel roof. And at the back of the property, we're basically resolving the addition of the mudroom by low pitch, 5 pitch, and 4 pitch gable roofs, just to downplay it as much as possible, not try to extend the main gambrel or anything. We're just trying to downplay and make this be a secondary piece behind the existing garage. So I think that in essence summarizes the project. Any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any comments from the audience? Okay, open it up for discussion. Thanks, John. Appreciate the drawings and all the detail.
Thank you.
As always.
Thank you.
Did you look at sort of that rear one-story addition off the garage, pulling in the sides a little bit.
This plane in further?
Yeah, I know you've got sort of the trim, but,
You know, it's interesting, we did look at it, especially because we had to get a variance from the zoning board for this, because the existing garage is non-conforming. And by connecting the two, we're essentially making it part of the house. So, and that variance was granted, but we did look at that, and the owners, the Sartoris, really felt strongly that they would like to continue this as a straight line. I think what was bothering them was an asymmetrical composition back here. Because first we had a simple shed roof going across with that cut in. And their reaction was, from their backyard, they kind of felt that it almost looked like basically a shed. And not that that's a bad thing, but I think they were looking for something that was better aligned and better centered. And that's why we tried to stay coplanar. I mean, I understand that the trim piece is a trim piece, and at the end of the day, it is an applied relationship, so I understand what you're saying. I mean, if the board feels strongly, I think maybe we can create a little bit of an inset, maybe something, I'm not sure what dimension you were thinking of, but maybe 8 to 12 inches or something like that.
yeah, I mean, you know, I was curious to see if you had looked at it. I mean, it's, you know, whether it's gonna be a great improvement to it or not, because I see what you're saying about the rear of it, but.
Right, we'll probably make that, to keep the alignment, we may have to set it in from both sides or something like that, yeah.
Oh, I see, to keep the center of the ridge underneath that window in the back.
Right, that was the intent, right. We thought maybe the simpler way to just, was to keep the wall coplanar. There'll be another line here, obviously, foundations.
And can you, how much of that can you see from the public way? Do you see that?
Go back to the site plan, you know, I can't recall what kind of landscape elements are here right now, to be honest. I think there is some growth and some, you know, there's definitely some growth there. I don't know 100% if that's going to be concealed or not with landscaping, but it is back here. And there is a house right over here. So it will be,
Probably see it.
will be blocked quite a bit, but technically maybe possible to see it. I just can't recall if there's any functional fence over there. There could be a low fence maybe. You can see a little bit of it over here. Just don't know if it wraps around. And we are proposing all wood windows, Marvin, Ultimate, or Equal. And right now, I've noted these front two windows as being true divided light custom windows. Just in an effort to relate back to the house. But the sides, the dormers and the windows in the back, we're hoping to do simulated divided light spacer bars, double glazed.
And although not part of this application, but more for my curiosity, the portion of the rear of the house to the right, that roof line, is that really what it does?
It is.
Really?
I actually have a photograph of it if you don't believe me.
Yeah. Yeah. Huh.
I'm not sure how or when that happened, but that's something they may address down the road. You know, there are some interesting windows there.
John, corner boards on the, you're gonna do corner boards, no woven corners?
Oh, so basically the trim at the front, we're basically trying to leave it as much as existing as possible. At the back, we plan to use 6-inch corner boards.
Yeah.
8-inch frieze, 8-inch fascia. And keeping it simple, but having some projection and some shadow line.
So does that mean the front does stay woven of the garage? The front corners?
I apologize, you're right. Currently, we are showing corner, yeah. So, I mean, we are showing corner boards there, but that is an open question. The owner's uncertain how much of the existing siding, if any,
Okay.
they want to change. So on my drawing, I did add 1x6 corner boards. But if, if preferable, we can leave it woven, whether or not the siding gets replaced. There is a little bit of, you could argue that that space is getting really narrow with the corner board.
Yeah.
That may answer our question, maybe eliminating the corner board may be the
Although,
way to go.
I don't know if it detracts from that Dutch colonial
Mm-hmm.
look.
Mm-hmm.
Lois, Chuck?
Well, my
Virginia?
first thought is that.
Sorry.
We did a tough job with the garage. That's, I'll look at that, and you said 1991?
Yes.
Must have been a bad year for architects, because I know you didn't do it. And I'm not insulting the house, because I think the house is adorable.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned that the garage is really starting to compete with the house. The ridge height's the same right now?
The ridge height is
Of
a
the
little
garage?
lower than the main house.
It's a little lower?
Right.
My first thought, it's not my last thought, but my first thought was that the dormers are adding, is what's making it start to compete with the house. That was my first, when I first looked at it, I said the dormers are like ears. And I don't know how to tell you to get light, but obviously not a skylight.
Right. Right.
But I'm just really concerned about, starting to put dormers on, then putting a connector on, and we've got the same gabling, and I don't know where to go from there.
I agree with you, Lois, about the dormers. If there's another way to get light and function, that would be an improvement over the dormers. Also, I have another concern about the connector in terms of its competition with the house, too. I mean, I certainly see what you were trying to do in taking the 91 version to the 2017 version to kind of mute it a bit to be more respectful of the house. But I'm not sure the connector really achieves that. I think, for me, it's too dominant, given the style of the house.
The connector is?
Connector, yeah.
And maybe the drawing is a little misleading, but the connector is essentially behind the garage. So it's not, if you look at the plan, it is set back.
So you're not going to see it from the front?
It is set back almost 25 feet from the front. So even though the elevation makes it look like it's right there,
Right.
it's actually set back quite a bit. So it's going to recede into the perspective, unlike this elevation view, which shows it perfectly aligned, but it's going to actually recede and I think look much smaller and kind of disappear into the background, I think, behind this bay window, because it's set back so far. But I understand what you're saying about the dormer. I guess what we thought was, if you look at the side view, to see how dominant, it's a large building, this 91 building, and it has a large expanse of asphalt roof with another asphalt roof. And we thought the dormer would actually be an improvement to put some facade on there that tries to echo the house a little bit. So I think that was kind of we were hoping that was the side benefit of the dormer as well, to break up this asphalt that is so large and dominant. the way it is right now. So it was really an effort to break that up and break up that massing. Because this dormer, to be honest, is only, inside it's only gonna be about 6 feet high. You can't even walk under there. It's really half aesthetic, half functional. Just as a kind of a response to that comment, you know, trying to break up that monotony of asphalt shingles. So I'm wondering if you could view that as also maybe a benefit of the dormer as much as, you know, another way to look at it.
John, do you have any perspective drawings of this proposed work? Not so much from the front, but from the side. In other words, if we take the 4 pictures, it'd be the one in the lower right, lower left.
This one?
Yes, there. Something viewing the dormers from that angle.
I don't currently have it, but I could put it together.
I think that's important. It's either that or a model for me that I think is important, to see the volume of that.
Of this dormer on the left?
Well, how that relates to the house you're talking about breaking up the roof area of this Dutch gambrel. And I think that's really important. I think that's the way to go in terms of, that's such a large roof area. And really the facade of this garage barn is just so dominant. I think presently it dominates the house. And I think the way you're headed is the right direction.
Okay.
I'm just looking for something that basically, you know.
Seal the deal.
Well, not only that, but I think works in terms of how the volume is working.
Mm-hmm. So you're primarily interested in that view, or maybe one of these two?
I think it's that view. The others are basically head-on, so they don't
Right.
really tell us a lot, I think.
Right.
Does the garage start to look too much like a house? Is that what the main concern is with the dormer? It just, it's creating more mass, and it starts to look like kind of two homes joined. You got garage doors there, but I'm just wondering. I mean, this is 1991. It was put up, and it's something that, you know, we have to deal with. You know, can we make it a little bit better than what it is right now? Maybe that's kind of the yardstick we should use.
I think to Chuck's point, those dormers start to break up that mass a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, John, that, you know, we see a lot of connectors that are 2 stories these days, and I think the 1 story works well with these 2 buildings. It does. You still have some sky and some space between the 2. I think 8 foot, almost down to 6 foot with that window is really. I mean, these buildings are already crowding each other.
Right.
It's already such a narrow space, and I think, you know, 67 foot back from the street and kind of in that little areas, I don't think it's a dramatic change. And it may kind of, you know, fill in that area that's been a little bit problematic.
What really justifies the connector? Is it to, I mean, why have the connector?
I think it's at the end of the day, it's really a utilitarian reason. The owner, you know, they have young children, and they want to be able to use a secondary entrance if they would just pull up to the driveway to be able to filter through this mudroom, you know, drop the kids' stuff here, have kind of a transition area. And also, as they use their garage, being able to access the same transition area. And it becomes really the kind of the utilitarian heart of the house. You know, there's a laundry room, there's a new powder room that we're relocating here. There's a walk-in closet for all the kids' stuff. So it's kind of like the day-to-day entry and exit terminal of the house.
So it really has no aesthetic value, it has a utilitarian value. I
At the
mean, I
end
know
of the
you've
day-
made it,
Yeah.
you've made it as aesthetic as can be.
Exactly, but the heart of it is that it's really the owners, it's a lifestyle of that particular family that really required this, and our challenge was how do we do it in a way that's as downplayed as possible. As you said, not make it a two-story thing, not try to combine these and make them one and the same. Keep the current relationship and address the goals of the family in a very muted and subtle way. Set as far back as possible.
So we said how it's so dominant on the lot. I would submit that the connector actually gives it some purpose now. It actually makes it, yes, it is part of the house, it will be a big house, but it gives it a lot more purpose. I believe that connector does. And some of these extra things that John has done in the front, certainly getting rid of the gussets for the overhead garage doors and the false hayloft.
Any other thoughts? Tomas?
From my perspective, I think the dormers actually improve the look of it over the current massive face when you look at it from the street. And I think the connector is small enough and recessed enough that it actually is an improvement as well.
So I guess what I'm hearing, John, is maybe some type of visualization, putting that onto a picture, Chuck, or do you want to see a model built up?
I can do a 3D rendering of it.
That's what I'd like to see.
Superimpose it into the photograph.
That's what I'd like.
Yeah, I can do that. No
That
problem.
would help.
That's adequate for me.
Okay.
And then I think Mike brought up an interesting point where, maybe a study on that of a foot maybe at max, or
Yeah, or something, just enough
without,
to kind of
so
see
you
what that looks like.
you can see that it's an addition, even though this is a 91 garage, but something to show that this has been added on to.
Fix the plane.
And you want to see some, like a little bit of some trim there, and a little bit of a jog in the roof line, or.
Well, I think if the sides sort of come in on both sides and you kind of recenter
Right.
everything, if it's 6, 8 inches.
Keep that relationship
Just
equal.
to break that.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're not going to see much of this, but it might be just from the side a little bit
Yeah.
if the landscaping's done,
Yeah.
brought down, or.
Do you think we ought to do a site visit on this?
Sure, we could do that.
I would like to.
Okay.
It sounds like, John, this is just some minor modifications and
Those two issues,
questions
yeah.
that need to be addressed, but, the sense I get, I think you're probably hearing it too, that this is something that we can work with some adjustments. There might be some, with the connector, I don't know how much you can do there. It might be, it's either connector or no connector, but I think the majority felt that it was something we could work with.
Maybe you could do this, you can do this a week from this Saturday on the 25th of March. I won't be here, but that doesn't matter. Or April 1st. Those are the 2 Saturdays in between.
I can do April 1st.
April 1st?
April 1st. Okay, is that good for you?
Sure. Yep.
And
All
when is
right.
the next hearing?
The next is April the 6th.
April 6th, great.
So, yeah, we just had a short time frame, so.
Sure, and I can submit that rendering, a week before.
All right, that's great.
okay.
That's great.
And the
Possibly we
revisions.
would have that for the site visit?
Sure.
That would be
April
great
1st?
if you could.
Yeah. Absolutely. Sounds good.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks very much, John.
Terrific drawings.
Thank you.
Okay, last item on the agenda is 235 North Street. This is the North Street Community Church. And we got a little bit of a preview last time we met from Sean on some of the landscaping plans. So thank you for coming in.
Of course. My name's Elizabeth Clarkin. It's okay, I'm just gonna hold this, I guess. I work in Sean's office and helped with the plan and everything. So this is the plan for North Street Community Church. I know that y'all have a copy of stuff. We did make one tweak just on a graphic for the existing conditions, so I brought along a few copies if you want to look at it. It's nothing major, it's just the line of where there was a walkway. So I don't know if I have enough for everybody, but
You can share. Yep.
Elizabeth?
yes.
Could you just point out what the
Yep.
differences?
Here's another one. So it's, I'll hold this up as an example. So before there was kind of like a double, oh no, maybe he gave you the other one.
This is what we have in our packet.
Yeah, this is what we have in our
You got a
packet.
late one, so it's the same thing.
All right.
You guys
All
have
right.
scribbled the paperwork.
All right, good.
But it's the same thing. The original one just showed kind of a double sidewalk when there wasn't. It was just confusing. So I guess the first thing that I will address are kind of the existing conditions. There is a lot of erosion happening in the front landing when you walk out of the church down to the steps. I also brought a packet of existing, it's the same thing that you see on a sheet, but kind of a little larger.
Thank you.
In those photos and on the ones on the sheet, you can just kind of see how the asphalt's cracking, a lot of the brick kind of retaining on the little hill area in the front. Those have fallen over, some are broken. The plants are just kind of in disarray. The paving itself is a little hazardous with how it's broken up, and this walkway is a little steep. So those are some of the things that we looked at addressing in our design. So the first thing that we made a note of doing is tuck pointing the existing steps in the front. So just kind of repairing the existing stone stairs, not changing that, keeping it original. The second, there's an existing kind of, it's not even really a wall, there's stones kind of lined up in the front, which you can see in the images. And we also found an original photo of the church, which you can see on the top right of the sheet that you guys have. And there is not a stone wall of any kind there. The stones there now, we couldn't find where they came from, but they don't seem to have any historic significance. And if you look closely at them, they're just kind of put there. It's not really a well-crafted wall. It's not even a wall. They're just kind of placed there. So we talked about moving those stones and reusing them. There's a note on the plan to reuse them in the wall that we're proposing to help deal with the erosion and the steep slope. We talked about adding these natural granite steps. The entry path right now that runs into the doorway of the church, like I said in the pictures, you can see the asphalt's cracking. It's kind of steep, like a little unmanageable, so the stairs would help break it up and make it a little bit more navigable. And then we talked about adding brick walkways and a brick landing. The original plan, which I think came, Sean's pretty sure it came through this committee in 2005 or 2006, had a larger brick courtyard area. And it was a point that was brought up that it might be too much material being added, so we reduced the size and just kept everything symmetrical, but still kind of creating a nice entryway for the church where people can stand, and just kind of make it look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And then the bricks themselves would be just clay bricks, nothing composite or concrete or anything. We had added a small fence, 3-foot tall cedar picket fence, which is actually shown in the original photo from when the church was built. There was a cedar fence, so we talked about adding that, just kind of bring back some of the original elements, and also creating kind of lines within the church to show like a border on the beds.
Where would the fence be, Elizabeth?
Right over here on the side and kind of running to the front, so.
Where it is on the original church?
In it's actually right there in the front.
Yeah.
So it's kind of in the same place where it would be, it looks like the sidewalk has curved a little, but just kind of following that original line of where the picket fence was. And then having a sign kind of being included in the front entryway so that it matches and everyone can see it. Right now it's tucked a little far back and parts of it are a little illegible. So making sure that it's visible, it kind of matches with everything. It's not out of proportion or anything. And then the plantings themselves, we're just proposing native hardy plants that are low maintenance, just some shrubs, and this is an existing tree, and then kind of the squiggly lines you see would just be their ground cover or perennials, once again, native and super easy, nothing flashy or too large. So those are the 7 or 8 things that we're kind of proposing. Nothing big, it's all on the plan. Any questions?
Good, thank you. Any comments from the audience?
We like it.
Okay. Anyone else? Virginia, you're ready to go, aren't you?
I'm ready to go.
Okay. Ready to comment. So ready.
Yeah. You know, I actually like the granite steps and the brick landing and so forth. I have a question about, in terms of the size of the lot, is there a reason for using herringbone in one section and a different brick pattern in another in such a small space?
I don't think that there was a specific reason. I just think aesthetically that seems to be kind of a common occurrence in other things that we had done in public spaces, just to kind of show a differentiation between the walkway and the plaza. Like a lot of plazas are herringbone, and then the walkway would just be easier, because the herringbone, I think, can get a little more expensive with how you're laying it out. So.
Herringbone just seems a little more formal for this setting, in a sense. You know, the beauty of this church is its simplicity, and the herringbone just seems more formal than that. The other is, I know in the fence it said, you know, a cedar picket fence comparable to what was there. But you know, what was on the original picture here looks more like a spindle fence than the picket fence. Even the post looks more like it has a acorn top.
The one across the street? Or
one across the street in front of the church, yeah.
Yeah, the one, I think the one, they're kind of similar. I'm not sure if Sean had recommended picket because of something that he found that picture in a historic book and it talked a little bit more about it. So I'm not 100% sure if that's why he chose.
See, I think the picket fence that he has chosen compares with the fence in the back of the church or on the side of the church, not with the original as he proposed it to be. It just looks different to me. The original.
This original one?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. They look pretty similar to me when I'm looking at it.
You'd like to see it as what?
Spindle.
Yeah. I mean, you know, boy, if you can do the original, when you have a picture. I think that's terrific, frankly.
They have some curves at that entryway.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a sample of it somewhere in town.
Is that fence up still next door?
Yeah, there's a couple, there's a house on Main Street.
No, there's no fence there on that?
Maybe the Pellicier's old house?
Is this, that looks,
I don't think
what's
so.
being proposed looks similar to what that,
In that area.
without the
I have an old
posts.
gate from my house that is suspended.
Yeah.
Virginia, do you think the fence that's being proposed is too formal? Is that kind of versus, or you'd like to do a restoration here to bring it back?
Well, that's always my preference, typically, but, I think it's, yeah, the proposed one here, yeah. It's also more contemporary looking too, I think. And I think the spindle, what appears to be, is softer, and is original. So those are the two reasons I would favor it.
It doesn't look like it has the cap, Virginia, does it?
What
In
has the cap?
picture, the original fence, it has the bar on the top rail, but there's no cap,
No.
No.
like on the
Yeah,
suggested
I mean, there
one.
doesn't have to be a cap on the picket fence either. I think maybe that might be what is misleading. That was just one that we had used in the past, but, I mean, the picket fence doesn't have to have a cap, but still have the kind of top, not railing, but the top band running through and the bottom, that's similar in the picture. And maybe without the cap, it would look a little less formal and rigid.
Certainly do there.
Are there any other archived pictures at the church, maybe?
We didn't have a ton of images. Sean dug through a few books and found this one, but there aren't a lot that he found. Really, I'm not sure if.
I have one here that's it's kind of further across South Street. It's hanging up in the Tedeschi store. I don't know if you've seen it. I have it on my phone, but that's all I have for you if you want to look at it. It really doesn't show you much of a difference, though.
Doesn't?
It's actually less clear.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of images or kind of resources that we could find.
The society might have some
I was just gonna say,
images.
Madam President, we might have something. If we can, where we're
Pardon?
located, we might be able to find something.
Yeah, yeah.
What
The Hingham Historical Society.
What exactly are you guys looking for in the picture? Just more?
Maybe just
photos?
another image of the fence.
Okay.
To be able to know what was there. It's very small changes that make a big dramatic difference in presentation of an older.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly with a fence.
You got to get it right.
Elizabeth, what about the handrails?
I think we would keep the handrails, but maybe paint them or touch them up because they look different than each other now, even though they were the same. So I think just improving them, not replacing them, but improving on the ones that are existing.
Are you keeping the arborvitaes?
Yes.
That's too bad.
We hadn't talked about getting rid of any of the things on the edge.
The granite steps that are going in would be what are you thinking there? Something like a new granite or like a rustic kind of
Just a rustic.
reclaimed granite?
Yeah,
maybe?
something more like that. Just keep it very simple and natural and not try and bring in new materials to the site that gives it a different look.
Yeah.
Just a rustic reclaimed granite.
Yeah, some of the granite is it's just so precise and how it's cut that it
Yeah.
It just looks really new.
Yeah, I don't think it would be
Okay.
super clean, very shiny granite steps. It would just be a reclaimed granite to kind of keep in the same style of the church and the existing stone steps that are there.
Okay. Do you think there would be some flexibility with adjusting the brick pattern if, or is that something that?
I think if it was a big deal, I'm sure we could adjust it. I think the brick patterns were just chosen to kind of.
Okay.
I know that you said that it kind of gives it a formal look. I don't know if it would give it too much of a formal look because it is a small area. It wouldn't I don't think, take away from the character of the church or the space. I think it would just kind of show that there is an area for people to gather in front. Right now, there isn't anything, people might spill out, or it's just kind of messy. And so organizing it a little and giving it some formality, I think, would improve the aesthetic when you're looking at the church and you realize, I mean, churches are formal within themselves, I think, slightly more formal than a normal gathering space. So I think it kind of gives it some character by looking at it, and you know that's the entrance of a church and where people might stand after a service. But if it's a big thing, I'm sure it is flexible.
Is that something you're even going to be able to perceive from the sidewalk? It's elevated, right?
It is elevated. I think if you were standing there and you were looking at it, you'd probably be able to see it. I'm not sure how clearly, because it is kind of at your level. I don't think it would be a detraction from the church when you're looking at it.
Are the cheek walls on either side of these steps, I mean, there's a number of them, basically flat?
Yes, so there's kind of where the stone steps are, those are existing, and then the ones in the front, those would be raised slightly just with the stair, like to be flush with the stairs. And then the cheek walls towards the top by the landing would just kind of blend in with the grade, I think, in the steps themselves.
And how is the wall, the stone wall that basically goes around these plantings in front of the church, how is that dressed? Is it flat or is it rough or what?
I think it would just be flat to kind of, so the front kind of stone wall that they have now going down the stairs in the original photos is just kind of, it's rustic but pretty flat on top, and I think that's how it would match up with the grade and the stairs.
I guess what I'm really asking you, is it similar to the photograph that's taken from the, there's
one on the bottom?
There's asphalt there and basically railings on either side. I'm gonna bring this to you.
I can get up. Yes. So even like over here where this wall would be coming down, it'd just be coming in flush to kind of retain the erosion, and then stay even with the stairs, and then also with the grade. So it's kind of, yeah, that would come out this way, because it's now, instead of it going down, it's that way, and then the same with the stairs that we're proposing lower would just be the same as you follow the stairs to the grade. Just because there is a lot of erosion happening currently, and as you can see, some of the materials are kind of breaking under the pressure of the soil and the plants, so I think having those walls would prohibit that from happening.
Anyone else? Chuck, Lois, your questions been answered?
My questions have been answered, thank you.
I think Sean mentioned when he spoke with us last time that he was going to do something with the existing
rocks. We're proposing reusing them in the walls. So, like I said, we didn't find any historic significance to the rocks. They weren't there in the original photos. They just kind of looked like they were placed there. It's not really doing anything for the site right now, visually or physically. And they aren't really, they're not very, it's not like a well-crafted wall or anything like that. So we're just proposing removing them, kind of cleaning that area up, potentially adding the fence, and reusing the rocks on site in the walls when we can.
I think we can refer back to the image here that we have.
When Sean was here, he did mention that the fence may not be something the church wants to do.
I think that we had discussed the fence as an initial proposal, and then also incorporating the sign. That had been in the original proposal, like 10 years ago. So if it was a big issue, or if they decided to not do it, then it's not something that we had kind of set. It was kind of...
I was just thinking in terms of maintenance, a fence on a corner of Thaxter Street could be interesting. scenario.
As happens.
Maybe that's why the rocks are there.
They have to be repaired as well when the cover, so.
You know, what we could do here is, you know, make a motion on this, but without the fence part, and the fence that can come back to us with pictures and drawings. We could do that if the commission would like.
I think that that's a reasonable approach.
And the only other question we had was just on the herringbone. Certainly an emotion stress that it's gonna look like the walkways.
So you want them to match the same pattern as the?
Oh, I mean, I just, I'm interested in what the commission has to say on that, but I know Virginia has a pretty strong view on it.
I myself, it doesn't bother me at all.
I don't know if you would see the difference when you're looking directly at the church between the walkways and the land and the courtyard area. I think that cohesively they would work because they would work cohesively because they're brick. But I don't know if you would see such a big difference. I think the reason why we proposed that once again was to kind of differentiate the walkway and the courtyard, giving them a kind of entry space that they don't have right now. And I think because it is small, the herringbone pattern doesn't overwhelm the look of the church and the existing materials.
There's another factor, and that is getting the joints to line up is a lot more difficult if it's not a herringbone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you'll notice it. I don't think you'll see it from the street.
No, I don't think you would until you're walking up it and seeing the change in pattern.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Comfortable with this? We'll get the fence information later. Okay. Somebody like to make a motion for 235 North Street for the landscaping plan that we haven't had in front of us.
Sure.
Thanks.
I'd like to make a motion to issue a certificate of appropriateness to 235 North Street for landscape improvements. In drawings dated March 7th, 2017, with the exception of the fence, as shown, applicant to review and provide other options for consideration.
Drawing dated March 7th, 2017.
And then the proposed full-depth granite steps, that would be a reclaimed, that would be like a,
Reclaimed rustic.
yeah, if you look at
Granite
the,
steps.
if you look at the herringbone brick courtyard, Hans.
Yep.
You'll see steps in the, something like that.
Right.
Reclaimed isn't specified in the document.
Right.
Question I have, though, in regard to that, though, is it's not, I mean, for a public place, it's not very stable. I mean, it's pretty, I can see somebody twisting an ankle on that, depending on how rustic it actually becomes.
Well, how about the edges being rough?
Yeah,
Rough
based
edges.
on-
Like the front
Sides.
instead of the top.
Yeah, so it's not a clean,
Right,
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, so
rock,
which is-
rock face.
yeah,
It's called.
which is shown in the photos.
Okay, good. Anything else we need to add? Okay, I'll second that. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Right, thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent work. Okay.
Minutes?
The minutes that I sent out last, a
Yep.
couple of days ago, those were the ones that I screwed up last time, so I corrected those. And, I mean, I
Yeah, it was
cut and pasted, and so if we can approve those, that'd be great.
And the date on those was
December the 8th.
December the 8th? Okay. And do we need to do anything with this abutter notice?
Yes, I'd like to talk about it so that everybody knows what it is, if that's all right.
Sure. Okay, any changes to the minutes for December 8th? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from December 8th, 2017. Do we have a second? 16, excuse me. Second?
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay.
Thank you. So just a quick word about the other information that's in your packet, which is, let me start, last year about this time, 2016, for those of you who were on the commission then, I talked about a proposed project to put 5 74-foot towers along the right-of-way through town. They were going to be about 3 feet in diameter, and they were going to be installed about 19.5 feet into the ground. So we were concerned about the visual impact to the historic districts along all along the Greenbush right-of-way. So in an effort to, plus the other thing was that we received the notice well into the comment period, and it would not have been enough time to have a public meeting. And so we tried to contact, at the time, EBI Consulting. We spoke to them and asked for extension to the comment period. We also called the MBTA, but they didn't respond, did not call back. And we really didn't get an answer from the consulting firm. So we called the FCC, and we got a hold of the deputy historic preservation officer who works for the FCC. And we explained, and I sent her a copy of the package that we had received, and I explained that, this isn't Nebraska, this is downtown Hingham, and we're just loaded with historic properties. So she took a look at everything. We also explained the comment period was had gone almost, was almost gone, and we needed the extension. So she got back to us shortly thereafter and said that the package that we had received didn't conform to the guidelines that they had set up for this positive train control system, and that, in fact, it was way outside the parameters. So she said the project is going to be on hold. So this is it's a federally mandated program, and I think I don't know if it's just commuter or if it's freight as well, but I think definitely commuter across the country. So we heard nothing, everything was quiet up until just this week, when we got another notice from the FCC that the positive train control telecommunication system was coming back into play. But the good news is they changed the consultants who were working on the project, and if you can believe this, those 5 74-foot towers were transformed by this other company into one 30-foot tower that is smaller than the size of
utility
the
poles.
utility poles. So anyway, I think that by expressing our concerns, I think we were just fortunate that she listened and took a look at it, because now it's in a location where Fresh River Avenue meets French Street, and so it's pretty.
It's open.
There's one. Yeah, and it's right at it, it's down a little bit from the grade crossing, so that they, they've got the quad grade crossing signals and arms, and then there are other utility poles existing in the area. So the impact is really nothing at all. So I spoke to Hans, and I went out there and took a look and took some pictures and reported back. And so there really is no significant impact for those folks, thank goodness. And so I was asked to write a letter to the abutters and to the Board of Selectmen. And so that's what this is. So we dodged a bullet.
Great.
Yeah. What a difference. I mean, it's just amazing. And I talked to the project consultant from, I think it's VBH or VHB, whatever it is. Yeah. And I mean, I was just so impressed with the fact that and she wasn't even aware that there had been a earlier proposal. So, but it's night and day.
That was so far off from reality.
Yeah. So now there are only 5 poles, one in Braintree, one in Cohasset, one in here, one in Situate, 4, I guess. So it's amazing.
Good, thank you.
All right, so that's the summary. Good.
Any other business? Okay. I'd like to conclude the Historic Districts Commission meeting for tonight. Do we have a second?
Second.
Good, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.